Okay, nobody's here yet. So, hi, welcome. I'm live for the first time ever. Viewers zero. Right. I don't know how any of this works because I've never been live on TikTok before. I have live streamed on other platforms before. I streamed on Twitch for a brief period. No one's here yet, so speaking to no one. But I did say 3 o'clock, and there's still 1 minute. So, oh, hello. Welcome to the stream. My first ever stream. Sorry, I don't really know what to say. I've never streamed before, so hello. Let me know if you can hear me all right. If there's audio problems, sorry. Normally when I'm recording, I use my main mic on my computer. So if you can't hear me very well, it's because of my phone's mic, which is not the best quality. So I'll try and speak as loud as I can so that you can actually hear me. But again, if there are any audio issues, that's why. But yeah, again, hello. Welcome to my first live. I've got 1,000 followers now, so I can go live. Thanks again for that. Today is going to be a Q&A. It's going to be about half an hour. Maybe I'll go up to an hour, depending on how many questions we get. And in the meantime, I'm going to be sorting through some of my trains, actually. I realised I didn't really have anything to do in the background while I was answering questions, so I thought I'll just get some stuff out and sort through it while I'm talking. So that's the plan. Like I say, half an hour. Any questions you want to ask me, feel free. I don't really have anything else planned beyond the asking questions, so hopefully, it won't just be dead silence for half an hour. In terms of the questions, ask me absolutely anything. Obviously, I reserve the right to not answer any questions that I don't want to. You can ask me anything you want, but if it's anything, too personal or offensive, I'll just not answer it. Yeah. So that's the plan. I am a little bit nervous. Yes. As I say, I've never live streamed before. I've done public speaking before, so I'm not really nervous talking to an audience, but it's kind of different because I can't actually see the audience in this context. I can only see your comments. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange feeling. It's kind of like I'm talking to myself, but I'm not actually talking to myself. Yeah. Thank you for saying that I sound like a natural speaker. I'm very sorry. I haven't rehearsed anything, so I'm just speaking off the cuff here. But yeah, I'm quite used to speaking publicly. I mentioned in my 1,000 follower live stream, in my 1,000 follower milestone video, sorry, I was actually president of the Japanese Language Society at my university. So I taught conversational Japanese for 2 years to a group of about 15 people. And that's really where I got most of my experience with public speaking from, is through teaching Japanese. Please don't ask me to speak any Japanese today because my Japanese is not amazing. I've been learning for about 8 years on and off, and I can just about hold down a conversation, but I definitely wouldn't consider myself fluent by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, so that's how I got into public speaking in general. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Let me just take a quick look. I've also not done any practice. Like when you go to live stream for the first time, there's an option to practice, which I didn't know about until 2 minutes before this stream started. So I didn't, have any chance to practice or get to know any of the tools or anything like that. So I am completely new to this, have absolutely no clue what I'm doing. If anyone else has ever streamed before, tips would be appreciated. Japanese is what it is. It is it's a tough language. It's interesting because in some ways it's easier than English, but in other ways it's harder. Like, I think the easiest thing is the fact that it's the pronunciation rules are very clear. Whereas in English, you've got words that are like, the OUGH sound. There's like 7 different ways to pronounce that one sound. Whereas in Japanese, however something's written, that's how it's pronounced every time. Like, there's no pronunciation traps. So it's easier than English in that way. But then obviously there's the fact that you have to learn an entirely different system of writing. That's, I think, the trickiest part by far. And also there's 3 different scripts that you have to know. Like, whereas in English we just have the alphabet, in Japanese you've got hiragana and katakana. They're like the equivalent of the alphabet in Japanese. And then you've also got kanji, which are essentially symbols that represent entire words. And there's over 50,000 different kanji. So it's really an exercise in memory more than anything else. Like, the rules, the grammatical rules and stuff like that are incredibly straightforward, actually. It's just learning all the words that's the really tricky part about it. Yeah, I think rambling again is probably the best thing that I can do. Like I say, there's not really anything else planned. I think in future streams I might try to have some kind of other activity going on in the background. Another thing I mentioned in my milestone video is that I build a lot of Lego, so that might be something to try on a future stream, is to build a Lego model while I'm talking, just to give my hands something to do. Because you may have noticed I have busy hands. My hands are always doing something. They don't stay still. That's why I've got all this, all my trains to sort out today, just so that I've got something for my hands to do. And that's another thing that I'd like to be able to talk about in my future videos and streams. And again, another thing that I mentioned in the milestone video is that I am a collector of model trains, as you can see here. I've got quite a lot of them. This lot here, these are all Japanese. And then this lot here, these are all British. And I'm basically sorting them all out at the minute because for a while now, they've all been boxed up. For the past 3 or 4 months, most of my stuff has been boxed up because I was planning to move houses, and it kind of fell through. So all my stuff's in boxes for no reason, really. So what I've decided to do is just accept fate that I'm probably not going to be moving out anytime soon, and I've started unpacking all my stuff again. So it gives me an opportunity to get back into some of the hobbies that I haven't really been able to devote much time to recently. The only hobby that I've really been able to indulge recently is gaming, because obviously my computer, which is just off screen here, that's permanently set up. But all of my other stuff, like the railway modelling, like the Lego, like the keeping spiders, etc., etc., all of those hobbies have sort of taken a back seat while I've been in this sort of limbo state between, moving or not moving. But now that I've sort of settled into the not moving idea of it, I can get back into those things. So yeah, my biggest hobbies are definitely the railway modelling, first of all, Lego, second of all, gaming, again, third, and the jumping spiders is something that I'm really excited to talk about, actually, because I'm not an expert on spiders by any means, but I've kept jumping spiders a couple of times over the years, and I love spiders. I think spiders are so misunderstood, and as someone who previously was a massive arachnophobe, I've gotten to understand spiders and feel for them a lot more by owning jumping spiders, and it's gotten to the point now whereas historically, if I found a spider, I would just kill it. But nowadays, if I find a spider in my room, I'll let it out. And I wouldn't have gotten to that stage without keeping jumping spiders, because they're just so incredible. They're intelligent. They've got those huge eyes. They have puppy dog eyes, and it's so weird that spiders have puppy dog eyes, but they do. They really do. They're such amazing animals, such amazing insects. Well, not technically insects, but they're really cool. And I'd love to have them again. I've owned a couple in the past. I don't have any at the moment, but I'd love to own more, and I'd love to be able to talk about them. There's a couple of people on TikTok that I follow who also keep spiders, and it's amazing seeing some of the comments. Like, just seeing videos of people's pet spiders really can help to combat arachnophobia so much. And like, yeah, their spiders can be kind of creepy, but they're really cool. They're really interesting. They're just the way they move, everything about them. So yeah, that's another one of my big hobbies that I'd love to talk about. So just to sort of round out the hobby list, the ones that I want to talk about specifically on TikTok in future videos are the railway modeling, the jumping spiders, the Lego, potentially the Japanese. Again, I'm not massive. I'm not fluent in Japanese. I'm goodish, so I don't know if it's something that I really would be able to talk about at great length. But potentially the Japanese. And there's also another very interesting hobby that I will be starting very soon. I don't want to spoil anything, but I made a purchase the other day of something which will hopefully be arriving on Thursday. It's very different. It's something I've never tried before. Hopefully it's something that I will, with practice, be good at, and it's definitely something that I want to show here on the channel in some form. So we'll say no more about that for the time being. I don't want to spoil anything there. But yeah, those are the upcoming ideas, basically. And I want to... The real reason for me wanting to make all these videos about different parts of myself is because it links back to what I said in my first video. In my first video where I announced the sort of new trans focus that my videos were going to take, I mentioned that I wanted to show people, that trans people like myself were just people, Yes, I'm trans, and yes, I make a lot of videos talking about my experience as a trans person, but I'm also so many other things as well, and I want to talk about those other things as well, and I want to show the people who say, oh, trans people just obsess about being trans. I want to show those people that no, that's not the case. I have all these other things as well. Like, I'm such a, not to brag, but I'm kind of deep. I'm kind of a complex person with more than one personality trait, and I want to be able to talk about all those other things as well. So yeah. What's a trans person? That's me. I'm a trans person. Thank you for the question. So yes, if it wasn't already clear, it's not something that I've tried to hide. I'm very open about it. I am a trans woman. I was assigned male at birth. I've been out for about 3 years, and I've been on TikTok for a little bit longer than that. So when I first started TikTok, I wasn't trans. Well, I didn't know I was trans, rather. It was sort of a couple of months after I started TikTok, I came out. And if you look back at my older videos, you can actually see my beard in a few videos. If you just glimpse out of the corner of the screen, you can see the old me. But he's gone now. Waved bye to him 3 years ago. I'm here instead. But yeah, I came out about 3 years ago. And the TikTok sort of, I never mentioned it on TikTok. It was something that, like, I didn't hide, but I didn't, like, explicitly say I'm trans. I just sort of carried on making the piano videos, which, of course, is another one of my great passions. I carried on making the piano videos, and I kind of kept myself deliberately out of the camera so that I didn't have to confront it. I didn't have to show people, because I knew that the second that I actually showed myself on camera, people would start asking questions. And when I eventually did show myself on camera in my first piano video, people started asking questions. But I didn't want to hide away anymore. I wanted to show that it wasn't a part of myself that I was ashamed of. It's not something that I wanted to, put in the corner and ignore it. So as I made more videos, I gradually started to become more and more comfortable being in front of the camera rather than behind it. And eventually I started making videos where, the camera was actually facing me. And if you look at my later piano videos, I'm always facing the camera now. I don't hide away from it at all. And I think that just shows how much my confidence has grown over the last 3 years. And it got to a point where I thought, right, I'm confident enough now that I can not only be in front of the camera, but I can actually start talking about myself and about my experiences. And so that's what I've been doing for the last month. That's why I'm now doing the trans-focused content. I've gotten to a point where I feel like I can stand up. I'm confident to stand up. And I am standing up. Hello. I mean, I'm not actually standing up. I'm sitting down at the minute, but you get the point. So we have had a couple of questions. Oh dear. Knocked the camera, sorry. Did I go through the grade process with piano? No, but I did actually pass my grade 1 violin. So back in year 4, which I can't remember how old I was in year 4. I forget. It's something like 12-ish. Sorry, I've knocked the camera again. Back in year 4, I did violin. And I actually did violin for about 5 or 6 years, I want to say. And I did my grade 1 exam. I actually got the highest score on my grade 1 exam of anyone in my hometown in over 30 years. So, like, an exception, not to brag, but I got an exceptionally good grade on my grade 1. And then I immediately proceeded to stop playing violin and never advanced any further than the first grade. Which is a shame, because I do love the violin. It's a fantastic instrument. I really enjoyed playing it. But I feel like it's less versatile as an instrument compared to the piano. Not that people don't do amazing things with the violin. People play all sorts of music with it. I've seen people play rock violin, which is absolutely crazy. But there's this perception of violin as it's sort of designed for a specific kind of music, right? Whereas the piano, you can do literally anything on the piano, right? To me, it feels like it's so much more versatile of an instrument. So yeah, as I say, I passed my grade 1 violin, then gave up on it and moved over to piano. I've never, gone for any sort of qualification with the piano. I just play it recreationally, and I'm more than happy with that. But I've been playing that for about 8 years. I want to say 8, maybe 10. Keyboards, that is. I got my first actual piano, the one that I play in my videos, about 5 years ago. No, 3 years ago. Sorry. Yeah. So that's the story with the piano. What about Wallace and Gromit? Excellent question. I actually do want to talk about Wallace and Gromit, to be fair. As you might have noticed from my recent piano videos, I'm a big fan of Wallace and Gromit. A big fan of Wallace and Gromit. To the point that I actually, the costume that I wore in my latest Wallace and Gromit piano cover, I wore that outfit in 6th form. Yeah. For an entire year, the uniform at my 6th form at my college was white shirt with a red tie. But you could wear anything that you like. You could wear any jumper you wanted, and obviously, I got this idea in my brain, right? Like, oh yeah, it's a white shirt with a red tie. I'll just buy a green tank top and wear that. and I did that for an entire year. So yeah, for technically, I cosplayed as Wallace for an entire year of my life. it was a it was a good time. It was a good time, a strange time, but a good time. Um, yeah, my obsession with Wallace and Gromit, it runs deep. um, any more questions? Let's have a look. Oh, sorry. Okay, we're getting a few more viewers now, but no questions. So I don't really know what else to talk about. Please, this stream was supposed to be a Q&A, so please ask questions. I'm here to answer questions. When did I start hitting the gym? I don't actually work out. You might be able to tell. I'm incredibly skinny. I weigh 50 kilograms, so I am underweight. Like, not I'm not trying to glamorize being underweight. It's a bad thing. I don't like the fact that I'm underweight, but I am. So yeah, no, I don't work out. I'm just this skinny naturally, and it's not good. Have I been places to perform with my piano? No. I like I like performing in public, but I don't really get many opportunities to. Fortunately, in the UK, there's quite a lot of public pianos, especially in like shopping centres and train stations and stuff like that. And I will always sit down. I will always sit down and play one if I see one in public. But I don't really I don't go to like dedicated performances and stuff like that. It's just kind of if I see a piano while I'm out and about, I'll sit down and play it. Yeah. Any other questions? In the meantime, I'll talk, I guess, a bit more about my background because it's something that I really want to get across. I've already mentioned it once in this stream, but I just want to mention it again. Is that the whole idea behind this TikTok is it's essentially kind of like a vlog almost. Like I don't want to say that in like a showy offy way. Like I'm just here to talk about myself, obviously. But I kind of am. I kind of just want to talk about my different hobbies and interests and reach out to people with similar hobbies and interests because I think the big thing for me is that we want I want visibility, right? Not just as a trans person, but for my other hobbies as well. Especially hobbies like such as railway modeling is something that isn't talked about much in online spaces, and when it is, it kind of tends to be ridiculed quite a lot. Same with a lot of my other hobbies as well. I think all I really want to do is just talk about them in a way that people can see it, and people who are also interested in those hobbies can see, oh, it's perfectly fine for me to be interested in this thing, and sort of find a community of people who are interested in those things. And then at the same time, to show people who aren't interested in those hobbies why they potentially could be or should be, or even if you're not interested in a particular hobby, you shouldn't begrudge someone their hobby, right? Like there are plenty of hobbies. Most of my friends have hobbies that I'm not interested in the slightest, right? But I will still listen to them talk about those hobbies for hours at a time because they're my friends and I like listening to them speak. And that's kind of what I want to do. I want to reach that sort of audience who, even if you're not interested in a specific subject, you like to see someone who's passionate about that subject talking about it. That's basically what I want to be. Because there are so many other content creators here on TikTok who do similar things. There are people on here who have hobbies and interests that I could not care less about. Yet I still follow them and watch their videos because it's just so amazing to me to see people talk about things they enjoy, right? Even if I don't enjoy those same things, just seeing someone be passionate about something and talk about something is really amazing. And as I say, I want to be able to do the same. I want to reach people who, even though you might not be interested in the same things that I am, I want you to be interested in me talking about those things, right? If that makes sense. Any other questions? We've been going for about 25 minutes now, and there's been a shortage of questions. We've answered about 4 or 5 questions. So if there are any more, feel free to ask. Once again, I didn't want there to be too much sort of dead air, but at the same time, I don't really have anything to do apart from either. I'm either answering questions or I'm sitting here in silence. I'm sorry, I don't really have anything planned for the in between bits. Electric or steam trains? That's an excellent question because I've actually got a mix of all three. I'm going to nerd out now. Are you ready? It's nerd out time. So here, this is a steam train. This is a Pico Black 5. Here we go. I'll get it out for you. There we go. That's a steam train. That's actually my most recent purchase, but it's also my oldest model that I have. It's a very, very old one. Here I've got diesel. This one is BR Class 24. This was actually the very first model that I got in this scale, so it doesn't work anymore. It hasn't worked for like 3 years, but it was the very first one that I got, so it's got a special place in my heart, obviously. And here we've got electric. This is a Japanese Railways EF64, my personal favourite locomotive of all time, and one of my favourite models as well. So yeah, there we go. I've got steam, diesel, and electric. And, oh, sorry, just a sec. I've also got plenty of rolling stock. That's what this... I've got a big box here full of little bits and pieces. When I first started, originally my first ever train set was 00, which is like twice the size... Well, technically 4 times the size of these models. When I was about 10 years old, I got a Hornby model railway for Christmas one year. I absolutely loved it. I've always been obsessed with trains, but once I got my first train set, that was it. I was completely hooked forever. The only problem with 00, like for me personally, is the size of it. If you've got space, fair enough, but I really don't have space for anything that size. So a few years ago, I moved to what we call N gauge. That's these ones. Let me get one out to show you. So N gauge is anywhere between 140 to 160 times scale. So, this is 140 times smaller than the real thing, basically. And they take up a lot less space. So I've got, room to have a lot more stuff on there. And that's what I've stuck with ever since. That's what I model now. Been doing that for since before uni, since a couple of years before uni, so at least like 8 or 9 years I've been collecting, and I've got, like I say, so many. These are all wagons, tankers, boxes, all that kind of stuff, all Japanese, these ones. I've got a presentation box. This one, I want to show you this one actually, because this is one of my favorites. This is a Kato 0 Series Shinkansen. There we go. Look at that. That's the first ever Shinkansen high-speed train in Japan, the 0 Series. I got this 3 years ago, I want to say. And yeah, it's probably one of my one of my proudest models, and it's also the only one that I've actually been on in real life, which is crazy to think about. I've got, I think, like 9 or 10 different locos, and the only one that I've actually been on in real life is the Japanese one, the Shinkansen, which there's one at York Railway Museum. If anyone is interested in trains at all and you live in the UK, the National Railway Museum in York, they have the only Shinkansen in the world outside Japan. The only Zero Series Shinkansen outside Japan. And I've been lucky enough to go on it. So, yeah, all of these trains, the only one that I've actually had the opportunity to go on in real life was the Japanese one. So, yeah. Yeah, the National Railway Museum, absolutely fantastic. I'm lucky enough to live quite close to it as well. But yeah, it's just an absolutely incredible museum. I want to go to Shildon as well, which I haven't had a chance to yet, but I'd love to go there. And obviously, the UK has hundreds of different heritage railways that I'd love to visit. If I had the money, I'd go to a different heritage railway every day, and it'd still take me years to visit them all. But yeah, I think if you are a fan of trains, the UK is a pretty good place to live in terms of the heritage stuff. In terms of like modern trains, pretty bad. We'll not get into the modern side of it. But if you're interested in like steam trains and stuff like that, if you're interested in like heritage railways, the UK is a pretty great place to live for that kind of stuff. Nice muscles, bro. Thank you. Yeah, as I said earlier, I'm not working out, but if you think that I've got nice muscles, thanks. Trains are just long cars. They kind of are. I mean, if you live in the US, the individual carriages are called cars, right? I think I'm not mistaken. That would be called a car in the US, maybe. In the UK, we call them trucks. Boy or girl? I'm a girl. Thank you for asking. Yes, just to clarify explicitly again, I am a trans woman, so assigned male at birth. Now I identify as a woman. Thanks for asking. Yep. Okay. Plenty of troll comments. Obviously, troll away. You're just boosting the stream, so absolutely feel free. But if anyone has any more genuine questions, please feel free to ask, because I've talked about trains for quite a while now, and I have other things that I would like to talk about, and I'm sure you don't just want me to talk about trains all day. Maybe you do. If you do, I'd love to, but there are other things to talk about as well. So yeah, that's trains. Let's stop talking about trains. I'll put the trains away for now. We'll talk about one of my other hobbies. Let's talk about Lego. Let's talk about Lego. That's a good idea. Here's a kingfisher made of Lego. So one of my other hobbies is Lego. One of my other hobbies that I want to be able to talk about here on the channel is Lego. Obviously, been into Lego for years, since I was very young. I don't have any Lego trains. I don't have much Lego at all at the minute, actually. I used to have like a massive container just about this deep filled with Lego. I am obsessed. But nowadays, again, due to just not having much space for it, I don't have as much. But I've got a couple, and I think now is a better time than ever to be an adult fan of Lego, because they do have a lot more sets aimed towards adults today, like sets that are less like toys and more like display pieces, like the Kingfisher, for example. I actually got this for my birthday this year, and it's probably one of my favorite models that I've ever had, and it's an absolutely gorgeous display piece. I've also got, if you've seen some of my piano videos, you'll notice that I've got some daffodils in a vase, Lego daffodils. Those are really cool. I've got the London skyline as well. That's a really cool set. I've got Vespa, which I got for Christmas last year. again, one of my favorite sets. And I just think now is a really good time to be an adult Lego fan. Like, there's a lot more. It's a lot more open to adults. There's a lot more like display pieces and more arty sets rather than just toys. And I like it. I like that we're moving away from this idea of Lego being a thing for children, right? Because I kind of feel the same way about a lot of the hobbies that I have, and I think just hobbies in general. There are so many things that people like are told that they're not allowed to enjoy because they're adults. Like, oh, you shouldn't be interested in Lego because you're an adult. You shouldn't be interested in toy trains because you're an adult. Well, I'm interested in all of those things because, that why should there be an age restriction on any of these hobbies and interests, right? Um, and I think usually the people who say these kind of things just don't have anything else to do, right? Like, be more interesting would be my advice. If you think that like me enjoying Lego is childish, then maybe try and be more interesting in and of yourself, right? That's pretty much all I can say to that. But yeah, that's Lego. That's one of my other great hobbies. What haven't I talked about? I've talked about the trains. I've talked about the Lego. Uh, I've talked about the Japanese. Obviously, I've talked about the trans stuff, as evidenced by the fact that I've been spammed with gay almost 200 times. Keep going, guys. Boost those numbers. Those are rookie numbers. If you're just here to comment gay, do it. I don't care. You're still giving me a view at the end of the day. So, yeah. So I've spoken about most of my hobbies. I don't really. I don't think there's much that I haven't spoken about actually. So there's not really much else to be said. But I do want to kind of keep going as long as we can. So if you have any other questions, beyond just spamming gay, if you can actually have the capability to form a coherent thought and ask me a question, then feel free to do that as well. In the meantime, I guess I'll just sit here and let you keep spamming gay. We're up to 310 now, so keep it up. Keep the chain going, guys. Sorry, a couple of bits actually fell off the model while I was showing it to you, so I'll just pop them back on. How's my day going? Thank you. Now, there's a question. In the sea of gays, a question emerges. My day's going great. It's a lovely sunny day where I am. We've just got a new strimmer for the garden, which is good because we haven't actually mowed for a while. So now that we got that, we can tidy the garden up a little bit. Yeah, it's a good day on the whole. I'm streaming for the first time, which obviously is pretty nice. It's a strange feeling, as I mentioned earlier, to be actually talking to people live, but not seeing their faces, like just reading the comments. It's an unusual feeling, but on the whole, a good one. It's been quite a positive experience. I've gotten a lot of nice questions. I've gotten almost 600 gay comments, which is incredible to think that I occupy your mind that much that you feel the need to spam it. But no, on the whole, it has been a nice stream. I've answered questions. I've talked about my hobbies and interests, and I've in general had a good time. It's definitely a learning experience. Obviously, because this is the first time I've even streamed before, I really don't have any idea what I'm doing. I'm basically just talking to the camera. I don't know about any of the stream tools or anything like that. In future streams, obviously, I'll try and streamline things a little bit more, so to speak. And yeah, maybe I'll get like mods and stuff like that, and make the whole process a little bit smoother. But yeah, with it being my first time, it's a little bit daunting. But yeah, on the whole, I have enjoyed it, and I've got 462 viewers at the minute, which is it's kind of daunting. I've as I mentioned earlier, I've done public speaking before, but the idea that almost 500 people are watching me right now in my bedroom is it is a little bit daunting. But I'm trying not to think about it too much, because the more I think about it, the more nervous I'll get, and I don't want to be too nervous, right? We're up to over 1,000 gays now. Keep it coming, guys. Keep spamming gay. Over 1,200 different comments just saying gay. It is impressive, honestly, very impressive. If you ask a question, I will be happy to answer it. If you just want to keep spamming gay, that's fine too. I did see in the Sea of Gays, someone asked, do I plan on training my voice? Good question. I already am, actually. I've been doing voice training for about 2 months. You can't hear it because I'm speaking in my normal voice at the moment. But I have been doing voice training on the side. It's something that I've tried once or twice before. I tried it when I first came out and it didn't go very well. And then about a year ago, I tried it again and also didn't get very far. But this time I'm more committed to it. This time, because I've sort of committed more in general to being openly out and showing myself more, which I think is something that I encourage all trans people to do. Obviously, unless you're in that sort of circumstance where you can't really afford to be, publicly out at all times. If you do have the opportunity and you are in a place where you can be out publicly at all times, do it. That's the best advice that I can give, because I spent so much time being sort of in and out and in and out. And it really wasn't helping anyone, like sort of being out half of the time, but then sometimes there were certain people that I didn't want to be out to, and there were certain scenarios where I'd hide myself, and it just really wasn't doing me any good. So I kind of came to a decision a couple of months ago that, from now on, that I'm just going to be out full time. I'm not going to try and hide from anyone. I'm not going to pretend to not be trans for anyone. I'm just going to be open and honest about it 100% of the time. And if people are not okay with it, then they're just not going to be okay with it. So again, that's maybe not the best advice for all trans people. Obviously, there are situations where you kind of have to hide it. But I've been lucky enough to be very accepted by my friends, my family. Everyone around me is really accepting and understanding. And I feel like it'd be silly of me to not take that privilege and run with it. I appreciate that not everyone has the opportunity to be out and proud 100% of the time, but I do have that opportunity, and it'd be a shame to not take it. Someone asked where I'm from. Excellent question. So I'm from Yorkshire, in the UK, in the north of England. Lived here all my life, born here. I have not really left all that much. I left for university. I actually went to university in Bath, over in Somerset, Bath Spa University specifically. Had a great time. Most of my lifelong friends I met there, and I studied computer science. I actually have a bachelor's in computer science. But yeah, lived apart from that 3-year period where I lived in Bath for university, I've lived in Yorkshire my entire life. And I think you can probably tell from my accent that I am indeed from Yorkshire. I'm not going to do like the full thick Yorkshire accent, because I just don't have one. My accent is not the strongest, but it is there. You can definitely hear in certain words that I do have that Yorkshire accent. Interesting thing to note, when I was at university, my accent sort of ever so slightly started to shift. Like I didn't get a full-on Somerset accent, obviously, but my Yorkshire accent sort of weakened a little bit because I was living among people who didn't have that accent. And I remember one time I was sort of eating dinner with my friends, and I got a phone call from my granddad. And I answered it and spoke to him. And as soon as I got off the phone, my friend said to me, like, wow, I'm shocked at how thick your accent sounds when you're on the phone. Like, just because I was on the phone speaking to my granddad, who also has a Yorkshire accent, my accent immediately got heavier while I was speaking to him. And as soon as I put the phone down, it sort of reverted back to the slightly lighter accent. So it's just crazy to me because, again, I don't think I've got a particularly strong Yorkshire accent, but then other people have said that it is strong. And I suppose in comparison to accents from other parts of the UK, it is kind of strong. It's called faking accents. No, it is not a fake accent. No, I am 25 years old. I've spent 25 years living in Yorkshire. It's definitely not a fake accent. This is my actual voice. Sorry. I don't like it either, but I'm stuck with it until I've gotten better at voice training. Okay. We are up to almost 2,500 gay comments now, so keep them coming, guys. We're on a streak. We're doing really good. Any more questions coming in, please ask. We are 45 minutes in now, so I think we're probably going to go for about another 15 minutes. I think an hour is probably a good time to end it. No, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm not going to show you my femme voice yet because it's practically non-existent at this point. I want to be able to show the voice, but also I want to get a little bit better at it first. So it's in due course, in good time, I will show the voice. How long have I been on HRT? Good question. The answer is 0 days, 0 months. I'm not on HRT at all. Thank you for asking. Someone asked, what are my future plans? Good question. I'm honestly not sure at the minute. I've spent a lot of my time worrying about the future, and I think, especially since coming out as trans, I've sort of started to worry less about the future and sort of live more in the moment. I do have plans. There are things that I want to do. In particular, I'd like to work in the field of game design. Obviously, have a degree in computer science with a focus in game design. So I'd like to, my dream job would be as a solo game developer, like to be able to create my own games and publish my own games. That would be really cool. But it's also something that's sort of not unattainable, but it's sort of just out of reach at the moment. I'm working on it. But in terms of my future plans, that's like the dream job. That's where I'd like to be in an ideal world. Yeah. Any more questions? Also, please be aware, obviously, if you ask any questions that are a bit too personal, like what's going on down there, I'm not going to answer you. So, I don't think you're going to get an answer if you ask any questions about that, because you're not. Okay. But any other genuine questions, I will answer. It's obvious, though. I mean, yeah, it is kind of obvious. Again, I don't really care. I've been out for 3 years. I'm very proud of who I am. I'm very secure in my identity. My parents, my siblings, my friends are so loving and accepting. I, again, consider myself very lucky that I've been accepted by everyone around me. I am very comfortable in who I am. I feel like you can come on here and you can tell me that I don't look like a woman, or you can tell me that I've got a masculine voice, and it genuinely does not affect me in the slightest. Like, I literally could not care less, because everyone around me is so open and accepting. Like, everyone in my family, all of my friends are just such amazing, accepting people. So yeah, no matter how many hate comments I get, it's not going to affect me. So by all means, keep trying them. Any other questions? I have a truck driver voice. Okay, thank you. I actually am not a truck driver, but I do play a lot of Euro Truck Simulator, so maybe I've got the voice for that. Who knows? Extremely. Okay, hold on one sec. Oh, sorry. Okay, serious question. Do I have autism? I don't know. Um, I will not self-diagnose. I'm not going to say, yes, I have autism. But I will say, I have never been tested for autism. It's possible. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to self-diagnose. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Who knows? You don't know, so it would be wrong of you to come on here and tell me that I'm autistic, because that's just grossly offensive, first of all, and not provable. So, but by all means, continue to speculate. As I say, I have considered the fact that I may be, but I'm not going to self-diagnose, and I also don't really care enough to go and be diagnosed. So we'll just leave it at that. Where is the top from? This top is from Pretty Little Thing. So are the hot pants. Actually, most of my clothes are from Pretty Little Thing, because they've always got sales on, so I can get stuff for really great prices. So yeah, this is not I'm not sponsored. This is not an ad, but Pretty Little Thing. If you want to buy femme clothes, highly recommend. Men's mental health is real. It absolutely is, and I'm glad you've mentioned that, actually, because yes, it is Pride Month, but it is also Men's Mental Health Month, and I don't want to downplay men's mental health. I'm sure the only reason you're mentioning men's mental health is because it's Pride Month. You don't actually care about men's mental health. You're just saying it because it also happens to be Pride Month. But I actually do care about both Pride Month and men's mental health. So yeah, thank you for mentioning it. Thank you for mentioning it. Men's mental health is incredibly important. Any other questions? We got about 10 minutes left, and then I think we're probably going to wrap it up. Yes, you can care about two things at once. Thank you for saying so. Yes. How did you know you were a transgender? Okay. Slightly poor choice of words there, but a genuine question. This is something that I'd like to talk about in more detail in like a proper video, because it's not the kind of thing that I feel that I can just cover on the fly in a live. But I would like to talk about it. So about 3 years ago, I started questioning myself. There weren't really any signs. That's the thing. Like, a lot of trans people will tell you, I've known since I was 5 years old, and yeah, that's fair enough. But for me personally, that wasn't the case. I didn't realize, I didn't know, I never, I grew up as a boy, and I never felt that I wasn't a boy. It wasn't something that I ever really questioned until about 3 years ago, when I don't know, for some reason I just started thinking to myself one day, like, am I happy as a man? Am I truly comfortable with who I am? And the more important question, would I be more comfortable if I was a woman? And it really made me think. And I think it's a question that, honestly, this is not me trying to indoctrinate people or trying to force you to be trans, but I think it's a question that everyone should ask themselves at least once in their lives, right? Like, genuinely ask yourself, are you comfortable with who you are? Are you 100% happy and content with the person you are right now? And even if you think you are, could you be happier? Could you be more content? That was really the question I asked myself. I thought I was happy, but I asked myself, is it possible to be happier? And the answer was yes, basically. So yeah, that's again, I just want to reiterate, I feel it's important for people to ask themselves those questions, even if you can't be happier. Exactly. No, someone's just commented, "I'm 100% happier, and I couldn't be happier." That's fine, but I think you should still ask yourself, if you genuinely think that you are happy and that you could not possibly be happier, then that's fine. But if you feel that you could be happier, then, take those steps to do that. Take those steps to be happier. Like, it's not. I think people feel like, if you ask yourself, "Am I trans?" you have to be trans. That's not true. You can ask yourself and reach the realization that you're not, right? Like, you can, if you're a man, for example, you can ask yourself, "Would I be happier as a woman?" And the answer might be no. And if the answer's no, that's fine. If the answer's yes, that's fine. But it's important to at least ask. That's the point that I really want to hammer home, is like, regardless of what the answer is, asking the question is an important thing to do. And I think everyone, at least once in their life, should ask it, because if I hadn't asked it, I might have never found out that I was trans. I could have lived my entire life as a man and been, content, because I'd never asked myself, could I be happier? Does that make sense? Like, asking myself if I could be happier allowed me to then be happier, right? So I'm not making stuff up. This is genuinely how I feel about it. Like, if you think you're happy, just ask yourself, like, just ask at least once, could I be happier? How could I be happier? And if you could be happier, take those steps to be happier. That's what I did 3 years ago. That's how I got to where I am now. I am happier. No matter what people say, no matter how many comments I get telling me, "Oh, you'll never be a real woman. Oh, I bet you're miserable and depressed." I am genuinely happier now than I have been in my entire life. Genuinely. I cannot put into words how happy I am. So that's all I'll say about that. I'll leave it there. I'm happy. You can say that I'm not happy, but I am happy. So, yeah. We got about 5 minutes left, so I'll give you, any final questions that want to come in. Obviously, everyone's now moved on from spamming gay, and they're spamming cross emojis instead. I'm not religious myself, but I do have religious family members, and yes, they all still accept me as trans, which is lovely. So that's nice. Oh, we're back to the gay spamming. Okay, good. Let's try and finish off strongly. We'll have, hopefully, at least one more serious question. Are they real? These? No, these are not real. I've actually mentioned this in another video. These are fake, completely fake, but they look nice, don't they? How did I tell my family? Now, there's a question. That's a good question. I think that's going to be the question to wrap things up. I'll answer that question, and then we'll finish up for today, because we've been going nearly an hour. The first person in my family that I told was actually my stepmom. So the first people that I came out to were my friends. Obviously, I already had a couple of friends at the time who were trans, and I came out to them first. Just told them, how I was feeling and what I was going through. And they sort of encouraged me. They didn't force me. Let's get rid of that narrative, first of all. They didn't force me to be something that I'm not. They encouraged me to, when I said I think I might be trans, they gently encouraged me and said, maybe you are, maybe you aren't. There was no sort of forcing it one way or the other, right? But they were the first people that I came out to. Then, when it came to my family, the first person I approached was my stepmom. I think because she's kind of the most progressive and open-minded member of the family. I went to her first. The way I actually told her was a bit risky. I told her that I had some news for her, and then she said, it sounds big. I'll go and make us a cup of tea. And while she was doing that, I nipped up to the bathroom upstairs and put on some makeup and some femme clothes, and sort of came downstairs and surprised her. Don't recommend doing that. It's incredibly risky. But in my case, fortunately, it paid off. She was very open and accepting about it. We had a bit of a cry and a bit of a hug. It was a very emotional moment, and it was such a relief, right? Because I'd been terrified of coming out. I knew that she was likely to accept it, but there, in the back of my mind, there was also that kind of little voice. What if she doesn't accept it? What if she, flies off the handle and gets mad at me? But she didn't. She was very great about it. She was very open and accepting about it, which was a huge relief. Immediately after that, I came out to my dad. He was the second person that I came out to. Then I came out to my siblings. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and I came out to all of those. No, I came out to one of my sisters first. All 4 of them are younger than me, but the one that's closest to me in age, I came out to her first, and then the other 3, I came out to them later. But yeah, just one by one, I came out to the whole family, and I think that's the best way to do it, because you don't know how individual family members are likely to react. I wouldn't recommend coming out to the whole family at once. Sort of find the family member who you think is most likely to be accepting and come out to them first. That's what I did. And then, one by one, come out to the rest. That's the best way to do it. Don't stand up at a family reunion and just announce to 50 family members that you're trans, because that's a big risk to take. Let's just put it that way. Do it one person at a time, I think is probably the best way to do it. So yeah, hope that answers your question. I think I'm probably going to end it there because we've been going for an hour. It's been very fun. I've gotten a lot of great questions, a lot of great comments as well. It's been interesting. I think now I've learned a little bit more from doing this stream. Hopefully the next stream will be a little bit more organized, a little bit more streamlined. And yeah, it's been a good time though. It's definitely been an unusual experience, but a fun one. I hate to end it while there's so many people watching. I would like to keep going while there's so many people here, but also we have been going for over an hour now, so I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you everyone so much for being here, for asking your questions. I will probably make this a weekly thing. I don't know for definite, but I think in terms of how often I'm going to be streaming, I think we'll maybe make it a once a week thing. And then obviously on the other weekdays, I'll continue uploading my regular videos as I've been doing. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. There's not really much else to say. If you've enjoyed it, please consider following for more content. Obviously, my majority of my content is trans-focused, but I also have piano content. I'm going to start making videos talking about my interest in railway modelling, my Lego, my spiders, all kinds of other hobbies and interests that I want to be able to talk about. So if you're interested in any of that, please consider following. And yeah, I guess we'll call it there. Thank you everyone so much for being here. It's been fun. I guess that's all there is to it. I'll see you. I'll see you tomorrow for my next video, and I'll see you next Monday for the next live stream. So yeah, bye bye everyone.